Hey everyone, and welcome. We all have those moments, right? Moments of frustration, pain, maybe feeling like a failure. But what if those struggles, what if they weren't just random roadblocks? What if they were actually messages? Today, we're going to look at our personal challenges from a totally different angle, using some incredible insights from spiritual counselor Michiyo. So let's dive right in with this quote. It actually comes from a moment when Michiyo's own live stream just completely fell apart. Her microphone died, things went haywire. But instead of freaking out and blaming herself, she had this really powerful realization, and it perfectly sets up what we're talking about today. How we react to our problems is often a way, way bigger problem than the actual problem itself. So let me ask you something, and be honest. Do you ever feel like you are your own harshest critic? You know, you make one tiny mistake, and suddenly that voice in your head goes from 0 to 100, turning a simple slip-up into this massive catastrophe of self-blame. It happens to so many of us, and just understanding that pattern is a huge first step. I mean, life is just full of these little hurdles. A tech glitch like Michiyo had, a mistake at your job, a tough conversation. These things are just a normal, unavoidable part of being a human. They're not a sign that you're failing, they're just a sign that life is happening. Okay, but this is where it gets really interesting. The thing that happens, the problem, that's just the start. The real drama, the real suffering, that almost always begins with what happens next, inside our own heads. So to really get what's going on in there, let's unpack this really powerful idea called the 2 arrows. It's such a simple way to see the difference between an event and the story we tell ourselves about it. And I'm telling you, once you see it, it can be a total game changer. Okay, so the first arrow, that's just the event itself. It's the microphone breaking, it's the panic attack starting, it's the mistake being made. It's external, it happens, and a lot of the time we have zero control over it. And yeah, it hurts, it stings, but then comes the second arrow. And this is the one we shoot at ourselves. It's that inner critic piping up saying, "See, it's all your fault. You're just not good enough. What is wrong with you?" This is the self-inflicted wound. And that's where the real, lasting suffering comes from. And look at this, it just lays it out so clearly. The first arrow is the pain of what happened. But that second arrow, that's the pain of our judgment about what happened. And here's the most important part. That second arrow is optional. We don't actually have to shoot it. Now, this whole idea gets even deeper because the second arrow isn't just about our thoughts. What if our physical struggles, our anxieties, our pains that seem to come out of nowhere? What if they aren't just problems to be solved, but are actually messengers trying to tell us something really important? I mean, really think about it for a second. Have you ever had a physical symptom that just made no sense? A pain that doctors couldn't really explain? Well, according to Michiyo's work, this is often our body trying to get our attention about a deeper, unresolved emotional issue. So check this out. Let's look at a case study from one of Michiyo's sessions. Someone is dealing with these awful, debilitating panic attacks. And out of that, they develop this paralyzing fear of going to the dentist. On the surface, those two things seem totally unrelated, right? But Michiyo connects the dots beautifully. Spiritually, our teeth can represent our self-worth. Showing our teeth is like showing our heart. So a fear of dental work can actually be a deep-seated fear of being seen, of being judged. She traced the panic attacks back to this huge well of suppressed creative energy that, because it had no outlet, was turning inward and essentially poisoning the person from the inside out. And get this, here's another wild case. A person is feeling intense pain in a tooth where the nerve has been completely removed. Medically, that's impossible. It shouldn't hurt. But spiritually, it's a profound message. It's the body literally screaming about an old, unhealed wound from childhood, a pain that was never validated, shouting, "Hey, I'm still here. My suffering isn't over." And this brings us to such a critical point. All these reactions, these mysterious symptoms, where do they come from? Well, so often, they're echoes from our past. Their roots stretch all the way back to our childhood experiences. Someone asked Michiyo this incredibly moving question. If you were neglected as a child, how on earth do you learn to love yourself? You can imagine how that kind of experience creates a lifetime of shooting second arrows at yourself, always feeling unworthy and unlovable. And her answer just completely reframes the whole story. The issue was never, ever about the child's worth. A child is born inherently worthy of love.
The problem was that the parent, probably because no one ever taught them how, just didn't know how to love. It was about their inability, not your unlovability.
So you see the shift. It's about rewriting that internal story. The old story, that's the second arrow, is all about self-blame. The new story is about compassion and understanding. It frees you from carrying a burden that was never, ever yours to begin with.
Okay, so we've looked at the problem, we've looked at the roots. But these insights are only really powerful if we can put them into practice. So how do we do that? How do we stop being our own worst critic and finally become our own greatest ally? Well, the path forward really starts with just one simple thing: awareness. Just noticing that second arrow of self-blame the moment it appears. And instead of judging it, get curious. Ask your symptoms, hey, what are you trying to tell me? From there, you can start to look at your past with compassion instead of blame, and give yourself the kindness you always needed. All of these steps lead to one huge decision you can make every single day: the choice to be on your own side.
And let's be super clear here. This is not about trying to create a perfect life with no first arrows. That's impossible. Problems are going to happen. Life is messy. The real freedom comes from learning to drop that second arrow, to stop piling our own judgment on top of life's built-in challenges. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. After everything we've talked about, what is one story, one piece of self-criticism, one single second arrow that you can decide to put down right now, today? The power to change that inner world is right there with you.